We welcome you to another episode of Banditland Boulevard. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, hopefully, and Spotify, don't worry about the YouTube situation. We're trying to get that San Diego Seals post game, but there's a little conflict here between us and YouTube as far as copyright is concerned. But we are here to give you the preview episode of Banditland Boulevard of Week 18's matchup between the Bandits and the Toronto Rock. Tony, probably the one of the most important games that we've seen all season long, next to that Rochester game from early February, where it was the fight for the first place, and whoever
Mhm.
wins takes full control of first place. Obviously, Albany didn't do us a favor last week. The Toronto Rock beat them 14-12. But what I'm just really hyped up for this game. So what are we feeling going into this? I feel like it's just anticipation, waiting for 7 o'clock, and just uh, waiting to see who can take control of this first place position.
Well, basically, all you can do is say, hey, we had a tough outing against the Seals. Now we have to look forward to tonight, and that is against one of our rivals, the Toronto Rock. Basically, with the injuries happening now, especially with getting a player back here and there, but they're losing out on their defense, this could bring up a little bit about the depth in their deception. What we like to do is most teams would like to take advantage of the situation because rookies out there will make constant mistakes
Yep.
and that they will be their heads will be all over the place and they don't know where to be. So again, this could be a good advantage for the Bandits because why? One, we still have our offensive power, and
Yep.
two, our defense has been solid no matter who we throw in. So obviously we know we got to go into Toronto or AKA Hamilton to do what we do best, and that is score quick, get in their heads, take them out of the game early, and I guarantee you the rookies are going to make constant mistakes. They won't adjust to nothing, and we'll take full on advantage. I think this is going to be a landslide for Buffalo.
And we talked about the lack of offense that we've been seeing, or sort of just a slight dip in the offense from the Buffalo Bandits from the last 4 weeks or so, where they scored 10 goals on back-to-back nights, and then they scored 8, and then they scored 7 in the 7-6 victory over the Seals.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, you look at that injury report. Those defensemen, a lot of those top guys, Mitch Desnew, Dan Dawson, looking at you two, they're going to be out of the lineup tonight. And
Mm-hmm.
their defense is already, with them even in the lineup, has been struggling a lot the past 3 weeks. This is the game that the Buffalo Bandits need to take control of, grab the ball straight by the horns and start pushing. This should be the game where they get that offensive confidence back and we see the normal Bandits offense. We're talking 13, 14, 15 goals. If this isn't the week where that offense begins to explode, I don't know what week we decide to turn this thing around.
Well, with only just a few games left, I mean, you got Toronto tonight, you got New York the next, and then Toronto again. Um, Make a statement here and now. Just go out there and play your best game ever that you've played all season long. I mean, I know they're going to be it's always a rivalry and it's going to be close. It might be a trap game. Who knows?
Could be.
But make it your destiny to go out there and make a statement. Like I said, prove to them you're the best team in the East because right now they only have a half game back from Buffalo. So we got to watch out for that too as well, that this game tonight is going to be a crucial game for either team.
That's right. And some unfortunate news on the injury report for us. Chase Frazier is doubtful for tonight, and Brandon Robinson is still out. But
Mm-hmm.
Tehoka Nanticoke is listed as questionable, so that is absolutely huge. We'll see if he plays or not. It would be great to have him back in the lineup because I think he's kind of been going through that sophomore slump, and you got to think throughout the whole year. I think he's been injured this entire season. He's just been playing through different injuries. That's why you haven't been seeing a lot of the typical numbers you've been seeing from Tehoka Nanticoke, especially from last year going into this year. So it'd be great if he plays, if he's 100% healthy. Dane Smith, he's overdue to have a great night. And, to have a Dane Smith type of night where he scores 4 or 5 goals, gets like 10 points. Josh Byrne as well. He coming off of a hat trick last week was great. But this game should be looked at. I think Johnny T has this under control because this game should be looked at as any other game. Don't even pay attention to what the implications of the standings are. You
Mm-hmm.
have a playoff spot locked up. So let's just get that out of the way. You're just playing for first place, but I think JT in the locker room is going to be like, all right, guys, this is just another game. You know that you can beat these guys. You beat them once this year already. Let's just lace up and do it again.
Yep, you just can't get that mentality out of your head. You went into Hamilton the first time meeting them, you beat them. Go in there and kind of like do the same thing. Well, obviously they're going to say yes, we want to keep winning. Of course, every team wants to win,
Yep.
especially now coming down to crunch time with only a few games left in hand. But it is again where Toronto has to make the slight adjustments to beat us, and we have to go in there thinking, okay, their defense is weak. We should just not worry who's taking whatever position. Just go in there and pound, 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 and get that score up so high that they don't have to keep consistently looking back. They'd be like, we'll coast and we'll be fine. But we have been a different team this year. We have been more of a consistency of conditioned team. We're more of a let's see what they do first and then we'll attack their weaknesses later, which has been working. And I'm not saying that it hasn't. But the fact is, against this team tonight, you want to get them scared. You want to get them to overthink, and you want them to play poorly, especially if you get it into their heads that they have to rush a decision. So that being said, offense, if you're hearing me, go out there and score constant goals to really light up Nick Rose, and again, beat him low like you did against Scigliano the last game.
And I agree. This is it. This is a different team, and we've seen some weird wins. We've seen some ugly wins. We've seen some great wins too, especially this year. It's just kind of been a wacky season. We are hypothetically, or metaphorically, that kid that wants to take it step by step going into the pool. Last year, we were the kid who did the cannonball, jumped right in the pool, and did not look back. We're kind of taking the approach where we're taking it step by step. The water might be a little cold in the first half, but once we're in the second half, it's just smooth sailing from there. And that's kind of how the Bandits have been playing all season long. And that's, it's something that you kind of get anxious, like especially when you're at the games. You feel anxious that, man, why aren't the Bandits scoring? This is the first half. How are we losing it by 3 going into halftime? This is ridiculous. We're probably going to lose this game. But at the same time, it's like you look at the coach that they have. You see the guy with the clipboard, and you're like, all right, everything. Let's just play it out. Everything's gonna be fine. They've overcome so much adversity this year, something that they didn't even have last year. And Brad McCulley, when he was on the show, talked a lot about this. He said we weren't really tested a lot last year because everyone was healthy last year. We weren't tested until the very end, and then they lost in the finals. They've been tested all season long since the end of January, going into the beginning of April, and it's just. This is what championship teams are made of. They have to show adversity, whether it's fighting through injury, fighting in a tough division early in the year, and then overcoming that and then winning a championship. The Bandits didn't have that last year. So that's what I'm really, really confident about going into this game, number one, and going into our push for the championship this year.
Yep, you just got to, win the battles. That's the curse of Buffalo these days. It's, no matter what sport we're in, it's always the injury bug. And again, we had to face that head on. And is it depth that helps you win games too? Yeah. And is it depth that helps you win games? Of course. It means other players get a chance to step up and be the hero. Like you said, Brad McCauley's one of them. I think Dalton Silver's another. Ian McKay has really stepped up to be a stud that says, okay, I can score 2 at will without no problems. And he has proven that.
Remember Joel Taylor in the Rochester game?
Yeah.
Where's he? Where's he?
He's been really quiet. We don't know where he's been. It's like disappearing into the next Mark Stainhouse. I don't know. But it's like, let's see what he can do. But again, it's JT's call. It means whoever he thinks is going to be best suited for the job or who he thinks is going to fill the void. God bless his decision making, because so far he's been one of the most winningest coaches in Bandits lacrosse history. So we cannot really say or judge him of his character about who he decides to play and put on the uniform for the night. But again, there's other players, like I said, who can do the job. But again, we've got the depth to prove it. So again, I can't say anything bad or negative about the situation because he knows what he's doing. That's why he's the GOAT of lacrosse. I don't care what everybody else says. I don't care if it's Grant. I don't care if it's Dawson. I don't care if it's anybody else.
Gary Gate. Yeah.
Gary Gate. Tavares knows his stuff. And you know what? We got to just put our faith and trust in the former 11, but now our head coach, Johnny T.
And if you're doing a little bit of scoreboard watching, the Toronto Rock do have a game in hand over the Bandits. They're 11-4. We, as the Bandits, are 11-3. So to win tonight would put us a game and a half ahead of the Toronto Rock, which is absolutely huge. The
Yep.
Rochester Nighthawks are 9-5. That would put us 2.5 to 3 games ahead of the Rochester Nighthawks. So a win tonight would be absolutely massive, and I think the Bandits know that, but they're going to treat it
Mhm.
like any other game. And real quick, I think one of my key players to watch today is a guy who absolutely is due for a huge night. It's 92 Dane Smith, man. I mean, he's racking up points. He got a decent amount of assists last week, but man, he's got to get on that score sheet. He knows he's got to get back on that score sheet. He will light the lamp probably 4 to 5 times tonight.
Well, if we're talking about other players too on the Bandits side, hopefully if Tahoka's coming back, I'd like to pick number one. He's been well overdue to come back and at least score two and get like the comeback with Clarisse Cloutier. Let me say that he scored 2 goals when he came back. He scored. Didn't he score 4 his first game when he came back and he got
including the
game
OT winner? Yep.
You know what? That's what I like to see. If Tahoka's playing, that would be my go-to guy. But I'm not going to say if he's in the roster, but if he is, that's my guy. If not, I'm going to say Ian McKay is going to step up again because he's been an absolute stud for this team. When they need him to get up in offense, he plays offense to a perfect tee. When they play him in transition, he's like your all-around player. Defensively, transition and offense, he plays them all. And I think he's going to be my go-to guy if Tahoka is not playing.
And also look at Matt Vince, too. Coming off of one of his best games ever. He knows the implications going into this game this week. Look at him as being one of those guys. But what do you have for a score prediction? I think the Bandits win this game, but it's going to be close. That's what I think. I think Toronto knows that they have a lot to play for, possibly more to play for than the Bandits right now. But just because they're second in the standings and we're in first, I think it's going to be close the whole way through. But I think this is the game where the Bandits' offense really begins to connect. And I think that Bandits win this game 14-11 over the Toronto Rock. Or the Hamilton Rock, whatever we want to call them.
Yeah. Well, basically, this is what I see is basically defense is going to help you win games too, like they did against the Seals. Great goaltending, like you mentioned, Matt Vince. He's got to be at his A+ game again. Defense has got to stick to what they have done last game and really take this to where we have to play against everybody that we play now has to feel like it's the last game of the finals. And you know what? That's what you have to go in there looking at Toronto twice for tonight and in 2 weeks. And then you got New York and you have Albany. Yep. I say for those the last games that you have, 4 games remaining, you go in there and you play like it's game 3 of the finals every time. So with that being said, the defense is going to be a little weaker on Toronto. Offensive power is still there, but again, you're facing off against the best defenses in the league. So here's my prediction. We're going to win, and I say by a landslide, and I do mean this by a landslide. Bandits 16, Rock 10.
Let's
End
go.
of story.
I will take that any day of the week because I think the team that gets the most hot going into the playoffs has the best shot at winning the title. That just goes without saying. If you get hot going into the playoffs, you're going to have a success. If you limp into the playoffs, you have that risk of being maybe a potential first round exit or an upset happening. So
True.
I think a big 16-10 win would be statement, especially going into the off week and then going into our next home game, which is April 15th against the New York Riptide. And then we got the Rock after that. And then we play those boys from Albany that beat us in week 1 at our state's capital. So, Tony, hit us with that sponsor, man, right now.
Yep. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York. If you guys all want the best beef and wick in town and other bar foods and have amazing service with that combined, go to Mitchell's Tavern and mention both myself and Trevor Hauer of Banditland Boulevard that we sent you there to try the absolute best. So, guys, please mention that. And also, for those of you who are trying to follow us now on YouTube, we're having a little difficulties, but please do. We'd like you to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell because every time we pop up, we want you to rate us on that channel there. Also, if you guys are listening in on Spotify.fm and Anchor as well, we would like you to give us a 5-star rating and also mention us like with listening to your car, your tablet, your phone, all your electronical devices, and we would love to have your feedback. And plus, for those fans who are still trying to reach us, please don't be afraid to ask and say, hey, I would like to be a part of your show, and I would like to see what I can say and do about the show. But again, for those of you who want to try, don't be afraid. Just call us out. We're on Instagram, Facebook, you name it. Everywhere. So please, don't be afraid to ask to be on the show. We'll be more than happy to let you join.
And we got 3 more words for you. Big Bandits win tonight. We got 3 more wins for you. Ready?
Ready?
Let's
go.
Bandits. Let's freaking go.
Go.